Mr. President, thank you so much for inviting us over to Urugwiro village.
Thank you. Thank you for...
Fantastic place. What does Urugwiro mean?
It means welcoming. It means embracing others.
We feel very welcome. Mr. President, we have to talk about the most recent story that's just taken over the whole planet. Already 2 months in the year, 2 dictators gone. It seems like the winds of change are blowing across North Africa like a desert storm. Did you ever think, Mr. President, it would happen in a place like Tunisia and Egypt?
Well, it is not impossible for that to happen because you can see it is built on people's will and power. The youth, together with everybody else, using information technology, spreading the word around, determined, and probably reacting to a very old problem. You know, you can go 10 years, 20, 30. The fact, if people are not happy, it will always ultimately come out. It only depends on how it is expressed. But this time, the people decided they do it that way, and you cannot defy such will of so many people.
Yeah.
So they have demonstrated that it can happen, and that yes, it just took time, but depending on how problems have accumulated over the years, it just explodes like that.
Is there a lesson to be learned for the rest of Africa? Looking at Egypt, looking at Tunisia, are there lessons to be learned?
Well, there are always lessons to be learned from things like that. I think globally, there are lessons to be learned, either by Africa or even developed countries can learn from that, because you find they have been a part of these problems themselves, yes, one way or the other, by association, by reading wrongly the situation, by supporting what they shouldn't have supported. Sometimes they support individuals rather than supporting what is in the interest of people. They confuse things sometimes. People express themselves, they don't take it seriously, they only listen to one individual who is benefiting them one way or the other. So, but also the Africans, it's very obvious. It's a fact that you always have to listen to people's demands, and you always have to walk the talk. If we say we are serving people, you serve people because you first primarily you understand what their needs are, what their aspirations are, and if you really don't make this connection with the people and people's choices and their aspirations, things will always go wrong. So there are lessons to be learned by everyone.
April 6, 1994, when that plane came down not too far from here carrying the presidents of both Rwanda and Burundi, did you know that the madness was about to begin? Did you know something would happen?
There are actually different stories and information that were out there even before the plane came down, and coming down with 2 presidents, one of Burundi and another one of Rwanda. One, it was clear that the extremists had not been happy that there was even this process of negotiations in Arusha to try and bring a peaceful resolution or end the conflict that was there. They wanted to have their way, and that was it. And their way meant exterminating a huge section of this country. It was a genocide that had a history since the early 60s, and of course even before in a different form. And they were saying that president he was one of them, but he had sold out in a sense of accepting that there had been negotiations. So he was one of them, but they were not happy with him for this reason. The second story was that, in fact, had been written by the local newspapers here and so on, the way they did it even during the genocide, using the media to mobilize and people to kill others and so on. They used that to tell Rwandans that they should prepare for something that was going to happen, something unusual, something they wouldn't say for sure, but something that would change things is going to happen. And in fact, word started getting out that they were going to kill the president. This was written. It is not just a rumor, it's not anything. Yeah. And there are many stories around that. So when it happened, we were not very much surprised that it happened. At the same time, immediately after it had happened, there obviously you could read there was a situation of terrible uncertainty. Nobody knew what was going to happen or to what scale, but everybody had a sense something wrong was going to happen. And in fact, it alerted us immediately that, and of course again because of so many history of decades where people had always been killed over the years, 60s, 70s, even during the late 80s and 90s, people had always been killed. This was a way of political life here in this country. So we knew something strange had happened, and there had been a history to it, the people had been talking about it, and now everybody got worried about what next. And what next, one could assume people were going to die. The extremists are actually trying to have their way as they had decided. And that would always mean killing people, mass killings as to where, and genocide that we had witnessed on smaller scales previously. But this time, nobody could have foreseen the scale this was going to assume. But given what they used as an excuse to spark off the process, certainly there was something.
Yeah. And that's what I don't understand, Mr. President. The examples of countries dancing with death, literally. Kenya during the post-election violence, dancing with death. We're looking over the edge of the cliff and you can see disaster, but we're still courting death, dancing all the way. And yet there are examples in the region of how states can become failed states in an instant. Why is that? I mean, don't we learn these lessons you're talking about?
Well, maybe people don't so easily and quickly learn lessons. But that's why we never stopped even looking at what was happening in your country, Kenya. That the Kenyans didn't have and don't have to test what we tested here. They don't have to go the route we went here before the genocide and culminating into a genocide. And for us, at least the service we felt we could do to our brothers and sisters in Kenya and even beyond for other African countries, they don't really have to go that route. And it is avoidable, and if you don't, you will just go the way Rwanda went. And I don't think anybody needs it. Today, we feel we are better people. We feel we are making good progress. But again, the question is, did we have to have a genocide in order to be better people or to make the kind of progress we are making? The answer is no. But for us, it has happened to us. To others where it has not happened, we are saying it doesn't have to happen to you. And it is within you to do everything that we know that can help prevent this. So why not do that. And it's about understanding and respecting and preserving the rights of everyone, of every individual, of every minority, including the rights of majority, absolutely. And it's about good governance. It's about valuing ourselves better than we have done in the past, and understanding and respecting human life and therefore the rights of everyone. It's about aspirations. It's about prosperity. It's about, you know, things that have almost have been taken for granted in other places. And we just have to ask ourselves, why have these countries developed? Why are they stable? Why do they have democracy? Why do they, why do they take some of these things for granted? And yet, still, there are more lessons to learn about that. They have not come to that just anyhow. Really, what we see of these countries today is not what it was a few decades ago. Maybe they also started with wars, with all sorts of, tragedies, but they worked through that and are where they are. So why can't we pick again lessons from this? We can work through our problems and be where we want to be. I don't think there is any country that are you can't find people who, whose aspirations are just about killing each other, about being poor, about, corruption, about this. No. So we know what it makes, or rather what it takes to make a dignified people. We know that. Yeah. So why don't we just do it? Why don't we find among ourselves people who can say, let's take the lead and do it?
Does it frustrate you sometimes when you look around and you don't see those people who are as like-minded as you are, who don't have the vision you have? Is it frustrating?
Well, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, I have no luxury, I have no room for being frustrated. Because the moment you allow frustration to take over, then you are already on the losing side. So I don't want to consider that. I want to see things the way they are, and deal with them as they are and as they come up, and so that's the best way I want to deal with the problems.
Okay, speaking of frustration, the Kenyan coalition is very frustrated right now because we begged for the ICC to come to Kenya. We begged for them to come because we had no faith in the local courts. Now that the ICC is coming, it's like, be careful what you wish for because you may just get it.
Yes.
Your thoughts on the ICC, Mr. President?
My thoughts will not please many people, but they have been my thoughts anyway for a long time, and I am yet to be proven wrong. I am really yet to be proved wrong, and I think all the time. Well, first of all, I don't like this externalization, if I may use that, of solutions to our problems. I prefer solutions for our problems that come from us. For me, this is a starting point. If you're going to have problems and you run outside of your country to go and look for solutions, well, there could be lessons to learn from outside. There could be support, there could be help. But ultimately, if you don't want to have your own solutions to your own problems, even if you find a solution, it will work only for a short time. And probably by the time these problems revisit you, you will really be worse off than if you had tried to deal with them yourself. So approach and understanding and theory about ICC. I have spoken clearly. There are many times I have met Kenyans, and they have invited me to speak at different forums, and even without, and it's not just about Kenya. For me, I look at broadly, it's about Africa, it's even about Rwanda, it's about, for example, after the genocide, actually the UN was more or less running the country. Yeah. And one thing we did ourselves was to say, fine, it has happened like this because of understandable reasons. But we must quickly get out of this. We must run our country. We must manage our own affairs. And in fact, there was a tug of war at the beginning because, and that will happen almost in every situation, as I have seen. The UN really didn't want to go. They thought it was their right to run this country. And of course, there were these facts of our history that anyway made it easy for them to think like that and even justify it. But on our side, people who wanted to do things differently and who wanted really to say, no, we can manage. We are starting from a very weak position and we need support. But we must start from somewhere to manage our own affairs. We can't be, this country cannot be managed by the UN forever. And the sooner we sort that out, sort that problem out, the better. Yeah. And that's what we did. So with Kenya, with all the problems that have happened in Kenya, you know, it's amazing. You know, if you look around beyond these problems, Kenya has everything. You know, a country needs to get moving, and you know, the sky is the limit. Yeah. Absolutely, whether it is the people, whether it is you know, the human resources, or you know, other resources, and where, even if we just say where it is today, it's such a country that you don't. Kenya doesn't need to be managed by ICC or by no. And I think Kenyans must start from the point of refusing that. You know, yeah. They should just be challenging themselves and say, no, we are better people than this, than to be managed by ICC. And again, I want to be careful here, because when I say this, it's not just that. I can't, and we have said this ourselves, when we say we really want to manage our affairs, we want to do this, we must give it a meaning. When you say that, that's right, but you also need to be seen to be capable, and actually to be capable of, and actually to be managing your affairs properly. Because if you don't, then those people you are talking to and telling that they shouldn't be coming to manage your affairs, it's like you're inviting them, because they'll come pointing to many things that, you know, are affecting the country, that, you know, that fall even in the universal, you know, values that we all should respect, and say you're not fulfilling this, you're not doing that, you're not doing that. You don't say, no, shut up, leave these things to me, because they can't leave these things to you if you're not doing them right, because they affect others beyond your borders, or they affect them as well, or they are associated with you in another way where they have been all over the place helping all of us. So they would have the right to question, right? So you can't just say, no, I can't deal with ICC. I don't need it. Until you're also being seen to actually be doing things that will give you that credibility that you don't need it.
Like I told you, Mr. President, be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
We wish for it, and we got it.
You got it.
Yes. Maybe we can get out of it. I don't know. With
you
this,
can.
With United Nations Security Council, maybe. It's a tough call.
From anyway, I have seen it has come up at the African Union Summit, and it's continuing to UN and so on and so forth. So you have, as these requests, and that you don't need it, which I have always insisted actually you don't need it. This has to be coupled by, you also have again at the same time to make that happen by what you are doing, or what is being done and what is happening in Kenya itself. It actually makes it easy for people to say, no, there is no need to give these people ICC.
In some countries, Mr. President, people are obsessed with politics, and this is what slows down growth. This is, they're too much into the day-to-day politics, and they forget about, there's a country out there to build. This is the problem, but I don't see it here.
Yeah, but here we've learned lessons of being realistic. We challenge ourselves, we question ourselves, we hold ourselves accountable, we hold each other accountable. And what is politics? Well, politics is just that process where people work within or with institutions and their leaders, and everybody contributing to the well-being of the whole nation. And how do we do it? It's a question again of a conversation, and then we ask ourselves and say, how do we achieve it? What are the processes? What are the frameworks? How do we express ourselves about how we build our lives and our future? This has gone on right from the beginning. In fact, this is where we started from. So we've tried to be very honest with ourselves on many issues. The bad ones, the good ones. We put everything on the table and talk about it. And in the end, it comes down to saying, where do we want to be? And it's really, it raises a number of questions and gives answers as well. It's about, what do you want? What do I want? And we put it all together. And people will be different. You see, like the example you kept referring to of your own country, Kenya. There are many tribes, there are many this and that, religions and so on, but in the end, there is Kenya, you see? So this Kenya, or if you will, this Rwanda, belongs, first the Kenyans, Rwanda belongs to Rwandans of different walks of life. So can we be different and at the same time have similar and same aspirations? Yes. So why not be different? Why not like what we are, different, but at the same time be or move towards or like what binds us together?
Can Rwanda go on? Can Rwanda go on without Kagame?
Oh yes, maybe if there is proof for that, it will soon be coming. And I think while we are there, while Kagame is still there, again, it's a daily conversation. We want to make sure that this nation survives and keeps moving on, building on what there is, building on the same people that will be there anyway, with or without Kagame, and move on. This is what is also driving us, and that's what is driving all of these things you are seeing. So I'm very optimistic. I'm almost certain that things will continue, because again we are building on what has become a solid foundation. There are many things I have said we have tried to do with the people, and everybody is part of it, and we are different, but in the end we are reminded that even being different, we still have common aspirations. We still have a country and a nation to belong to and be proud of and develop.
And that's the difference between you guys and us. We're obsessed with the individual. We think life revolves around individuals, and that's why our politics is so ingrained. It's so, it just puts development aside and we concentrate on this person, that person. That's the problem. That's the difference.
That's the problem, but that's the problem we have gradually and progressively and continue to overcome. But that's a problem you can overcome. That's a problem any country can overcome. Because again, it is known, it is there, it is talked about. It's So one day, people should change their mind about it and move in a different direction. And it helps to keep talking about it. It helps to keep challenging each other about it. It helps to, make sure that even with these institutions that serve us or through which we serve people, are built around this kind of thinking. It's really a question of just operationalizing it. The ideas are there. People know it. And then there are also these lessons of the past. I'm sure it is bound to happen that even Kenya will emerge a better country and Kenyans will emerge better people, given these lessons you've learned recently, what happened in the last couple of years. So I guess we need to learn these lessons and pick our pieces and move on and build again and stop disintegrating, because it benefits no one.
Correct.
Yes,
Correct.
there's no.
And at the end of the day, Mr. President, in Africa in general, the day we get our leadership right, collectively, our leadership, is the day this continent will move on, isn't it?
No question about it. And leadership at every level. Leadership doesn't mean presidents, prime ministers, it means the young people, it means the business people, it means, everybody at their level. What can they do that uplifts them in their well-being and in their standards of living and, freedoms and so on and so forth. And at the same time, make sure that that creates the collective on which we have to build. So it is about how the interaction takes place. It is about how, in the end, we organize and manage our countries and societies, allowing everybody's energy to feed into that. And of course, here now, in the end, what helps every country to achieve that, other than just having leaders and everybody playing, their part, again, at the end of the day, we have to be countries or societies of laws, of we have of norms, of rules so we have to abide by certain norms, by certain standards, by certain, so they have to guide us. Again, it's not anarchy that will help us. Yes. So in that organization, will come in the rules, the laws, the norms, the values are expressed through this way.
Are we going to see that in our lifetime?
Yeah, I think we are already seeing it. I really think in Africa it's not entirely, a hopeless situation, because while we see so many problems, as in Somalia, in Ivory Coast, you can go on. But there are other places where we are seeing good progress. Problems in other places mixed with progress, progress, and at different different degrees of expressions in that. So I think we just need to build on this that is already taking place. So we shouldn't despair. Despair wouldn't help anyone.
Yeah, there's a lot of hope.
There has to be hope, and there is a lot of hope. And this conversation, I know, is on the minds of many people. As you said, when I'm tweeting with people from different places, and I see different countries, even beyond the continent, the conversation is about that. And yes, why would people be engaging in this kind of conversation if it's not on their mind and ranked highly in their priorities, and maybe doing something about it? I guess this is happening, and we just need to galvanize that and make sure that we continue moving on. I think the potential is there, the ambitions are there, all elements are there. We just have to have people emerge and move forward and make things happen.
Yeah. You keep doing what you're doing, Mr. President. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And good luck.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thanks for your hospitality.
Thank you.